I could quit my job and I could just live for, a few years off of the money that I have in the bank. That's silly, right? What I should do is invest that, and then I could be making, 30, 40 grand a month.
Passively.
Welcome back to the number one podcast in the world. Today we're going to talk about AirBnB's. I'm going to run through the list of all the things. We're going to talk about what our plans are, why we're doing it now, what you can expect from us, what we expect, when we're starting, why we're starting here in Miami instead of anywhere else, how much do you need to get started, should you pay with cash or debt. Andrew will provide a lot of insight into that. Should you buy a condo? Should you buy a single family home? What parts of Miami should you invest in? And how much money can they put down, which is part of, cash versus financing.
These are a lot of points.
It's a lot of stuff.
This is a lot of stuff.
We may or may not touch on everything, but due to the power of notes, we're going to try and get you there. Before we jump in, though, some housekeeping. Please do subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram. We greatly appreciate it. Part of our mission is sharing everything that we know with you guys, sharing our journey as we kind of participate and take on some really hard stuff, buying, $1 million homes, investing, trying to cash flow. We're taking on a lot of risk. We know people are interested in that. And so we really want to be an open book and show you how all of that goes. And the best way that you can pay us back for that is subscribing to our content. And if you know there's anybody else who's curious about that, make sure that they are following us as well.
Absolutely.
Andrew, what should we talk about first?
I think we should just talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it. What do you think?
Let's do it. You kick it off.
I'll kick it off. So as most of you know, I do mortgages. This is my bread and butter. This is my day job. This is my business.
Yep.
I've been very successful in this space, thank God. One of the most recent things that I have encountered is a lot of my clients buying Airbnb properties. They're buying condo hotels. They're using those for AirbnBs. They're buying single family homes. A lot of them are buying properties with the intention of doing AirbnBs. Some of the investors that I have done mortgages for over the past couple of months, I've seen their P&Ls. And when I look at the profit and loss statements, I'm like perplexed by the amount of income that these properties are generating. It almost doesn't even make sense. And I know you've seen the numbers. And this was my initial spark, because I'm like, I've got a client right now. He's 23 years old and he's buying a $1.2 million property.
Which is pretty crazy, guys, right? So most people, even just to have the cash down to buy, $1 million property, and there's a ton of ways, and we can talk about that, how you can get that cash, teaming up with other people, stuff like that. But I want to go back to a few of the things that you said, because we've gotten feedback that we use terms. So you already defined P&L, profit and loss.
Yeah.
But also, let's just go back to the why. Like, why do you think so many people are buying Airbnbs in Miami right now? Like, what is the allure?
Well, I think primarily here in Miami, we have just an overwhelming number of tourists that constantly come into our city. They're here for the party, they're here for the nightlife, they're here for the boats, they're here for the weather, they're here for, maybe the women, whatever the case is. People love coming to Miami and they love coming here regularly. Miami is a tourist destination. Miami has a lot of tourist capacity. We generate a lot of revenue for the city through the tourism industry, which is why one of the reasons we were impacted so greatly by the coronavirus lockdown. So now that everybody is coming back here, and they're coming back here heavy, on top of all of the people who are moving here.
And the city it's
insane,
lit, guys.
I can tell you.
It's a good time. If you haven't been to Miami, come through. All the reasons you just said, the cars, the women, the boats, the nightlife, the dancing, the weather.
Reggaeton.
Reggaeton. Andrew's favorite, out there shaking his hips. Out there on the dance floor. Don't be fooled if you haven't seen this man dance. He likes to dance. He likes to shake it. Get down on the dance floor a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly why. Miami has always had that allure.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going anywhere. Like,
it's not. And and the thing about it is, it's not just people coming here for a night. Some people are coming here for a month. Some people are coming here for 3 months. It's crazy. And they're not just coming by themselves. They're coming with friends. And a lot of people are coming with the intention of splitting an Airbnb property. What might end up happening is you've got 8 friends and they're all coming here for a bachelor party or a bachelorette party, right?
Exactly.
And they're all pitching in a couple $100, and instead of getting a hotel, with, 2-3 people and you're paying $300-400 a night, right? Why wouldn't you just pitch in with 8 of your friends? You each pay a couple $100, and now you've got this beautiful house.
Yeah.
It sleeps 10 to 15 people. You've got a pool, a jacuzzi, and some other type of entertainment. You might even be on the water. You're in a good location. So that, it's appealing to a lot of people.
And bro, like I literally did that. So I had a friend, got invited to a bachelorette party. Good time, but I'm an investor. So the first thing I did when they told me they were staying at Airbnb in Miami is I looked up the address, looked it up on Airbnb, asked her how much they had paid for their group. I think it was like 8 women or so.
Yeah.
And then I did some backwards math. I said, okay, assuming it was rented 20 days out of the month, so not even fully maxed out, but it's like 20 days out of the month. It was doing at least, I think, like $26,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is, I did some more math. Let's just say analyzing the area, estimated. All right, it's probably in like the $1 million to $1.5 million range. So the mortgage is just let's just say it's $6-7 grand, right? So let's just call it $25,000 minus $7,000 is what, $18,000, and then out of the $18,000,
probably have a management fee of some kind.
Management fees, expenses. So if you get where I'm going at this point, the owner is making money, right? And that's a very conservative, very conservative analysis. And we know people who are doing much better occupancy rates. There's actually platforms out there. We can probably talk about that. I use something called Price Labs, and there's a few other ones that will show you exactly how much revenue at least things are making. You kind of have to do the math from there. So the point is, if you want to do short-term rentals like we're doing, pick a market that makes it easy. You certainly can make a market that's much harder. I think that's something we'll talk about later, but start where people are going. Like everybody wants to go to Miami, for different reasons. So it's really easy to imagine having a business that caters to that need, and people from everywhere,
it's true.
People from other countries want to come here. Similar with New York, right? A lot of people are doing Airbnbs in New York for the same reason, a little more expensive, but you always have that kind of customer base.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? So we kind of talked about why
and
people are doing. I
think obviously from a monetary standpoint, to me, from my experience and looking at my clientele, seeing the numbers that they are generating, look at the profit and loss statements, doing like a thorough analysis of current operating businesses that we are using the cash flow from in order to qualify them for this new mortgage. For instance, as one example, I've got one individual, he's making $41,000 a month off of one property.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the mortgage on the property is about $8,250 all in. You've got principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and I believe there's a small HOA due for the neighborhood he's in. But all in, you're looking at like a little over $8,000, right? And if the place is generating $41,000 a month, even if you're paying a 20-25% management fee on a very conservative side, this guy is still making money off of one property.
Yeah, and 20% is pretty standard, by the way. So you talk about management fee. I'll just define that for you also. Basically, somebody has to run this, but somebody has to rent it out. As soon as somebody leaves, someone has to clean it, right? And that person is doing a lot of work because Airbnb stays can be 3-4 days. So you might have 3 tenants in your property in 1 week.
Yeah.
And so every day that it's not rented, you're basically leaving money on the table. So you don't want to do that. So you want somebody who's really good. 20% has basically kind of been the standard for property management for short-term rentals. For if you come from multifamily or other real estate backgrounds, it tends to be like 8%. I got all the way down to 5 on one property, but it really depends. Granted, the turnover in those properties is much shorter because your tenants are leaving year over year, not, after 3 days. So very different operational intensities, but that's what we're talking about, 20% property management. So I want to dig in on that now. So you talked about kind of he or she's making $41,000 a month. What type of cash are they fronting, and did he buy it by himself?
Sure.
Partnering?
So with this individual, he did not buy it by himself, and he did not use his own funds. Well, partially. He did use partial funds of his own. What I am seeing typically, and it wasn't just with this individual, but most of my buyers that are doing Airbnb, they typically they fall into a couple scenarios. Either one, they have the cash to do it by themselves. Yeah. However, a lot of these properties, they want to create an experience for their clients, right? You don't just want to go to a nice Airbnb. You want to go to a place that caters to an experience,
Exactly.
a customer experience. So, this one is beautiful. It's all decked out. It's got little paddle boards so people can go paddleboarding, bikes, all these different things. You create the experience for the client, right?
Yeah.
So that they want to come back. Now he figured that in order to build this house out the way that he wanted it to be, it's probably going to be 40 to 50 grand, right? So, why would he go pay all of this money cash to buy the property outright when he could leverage the financing? And if you're leveraging financing at a rate that is reasonable, something in the 3s or the 4s, for instance, for this investment property, you're basically setting yourself up in a position to end up making more cash flow. Although you would have more cash flow if you bought it cash, but if you're leveraging the financing and you're putting that cash back into the property to renovate it, you could essentially charge more every month because the place is in a better working order. It's beautiful. It looks better. So that's what this individual did. His projections by putting the 40 to 50 grand into the property took the property from his analysis from making $32,000 a month to making the 41. So that's where the difference was. So for him, it was a no-brainer to get the mortgage.
Yeah. And I think, most people doing this are going to get mortgages. We're going to get a mortgage on our properties when we partner up with that, which we'll talk about here in a bit, kind of how we're doing that. But I think when you talk about buying it cash versus debt, most people are not going to have the cash for $1 million plus property. Like Andrew just said, your cash flows will be better because you'll have no debt.
Yeah.
But leverage really is the whole point of real estate, right? Being able, when someone says, "Oh, I bought a $2 million property," well, they may have only put in, $200,000 on the low end.
Exactly.
Maybe they put in $400,000, but they're not putting $2 million down,
Exactly.
right? So $400,000 is still a lot of cash. Understand that for most normal people, that's a lot of money. But if I'm realistic with you guys, and if you push yourselves, you can save up or get to $400,000 of capital. Or let's say you get $100,000 of capital and you team up with three other people that have $100,000 of capital. Suddenly you're buying a $2 million property, right? And splitting that $40,000 a month.
Exactly.
You're each doing 10 G's. So tons of ways to get in the game. Kind of just got to think outside the box.
And there's two primary ways that a lot of my investors have been getting into these. Either one, they're going to go with a conventional jumbo loan. So a jumbo loan in Miami-Dade or Broward County is any loan amount that's over $548,250. So $548,250 is the conforming limits for our county if you're going conventional. If your loan amount's over that, which obviously if you're buying a $2 million house, it will be, you now fall into the jumbo space. So a jumbo loan is going to have different terms. The rates may just be a tad bit higher, but they will require an additional percentage down. So rather than doing 3% down on a loan amount of $540, for instance, right? Now we're going to be doing 10% down. So for instance, the what you and I are looking at, that's going to be a 10% down situation, right? Now we could do 20. Obviously the cash flows would be better. The terms would be better. The rate is going to be better. But if we can leverage that extra 10%, that is additional cash that we could put into the property in order to increase our own cash flows in a different manner, by making it look better, by raising the aesthetics of the property, right?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about something really sexy. And that is the experience, right? So why are we doing this, Andrew? And what type of experience have we talked about bringing to our people? And I'm going to answer first. But, Andrew and I are both creative people. We pump out content like this, right? Like making stuff. And what's really cool about real estate is you kind of have that level of control to like make stuff. And so we've talked about, creating like backdrops and places where people can do like cool photo shoots in the properties, highly themed thematic. So not just a place to go and stay and that has plates and a dishwasher. Like most Airbnbs have that. But what's really cool is when you talk about these groups, these big groups that are coming to Miami, and it's a bachelorette party, and you really want that place that makes you feel like you got that next level experience, right? It's like, I'm going to stay here versus just staying at some place with 8 beds, right? Because there are plenty of places with just 8 beds, but it's like, we're going to stay here because we can take cool photos. Or maybe they've got like, a pool table, just small stuff like that that really creates that communal space for groups of that size. But so those are my immediate tidbits.
Yeah, no. I think, and that's accurate. I think if you create an experience for people, think about when we went to Colombia, right? Yeah. So we could have easily stayed in some like, measly 2-bedroom place, paid $40 a night.
Which we did not.
And then, you never want to be there. You just go there to sleep and then you leave, right? So what's the incentive to come back?
Exactly.
So instead, well, what did we do? We got this beautiful place with a
amazing.
jacuzzi on the balcony.
Gotta do a whole nother episode on Colombia, but it was a good time.
I mean, we spent a lot of time in the actual unit.
Yeah,
you know,
it was a good time.
So it was a good experience, and I would, if I go back, like I would love to get that same place again.
Yeah,
you know?
and you can travel. I mean, we're both kind of bougie, but here's the thing.
Kinda bougie.
Here's the thing, guys. We cater. We know we're that type of person, and so we know there are other travelers like us. There are a lot of people like us who. And we still went and experienced the country. You know, we went all over the place, but having a nice spot to come back to was great. We were able to host people, have a good time. You know, we have a friend who lives in Colombia who's an amazing host for us. And again, having that space allowed us to create those experiences. No one wants to go back. You know, if you're out somewhere and you meet some new friends and you're like, yo, you want to pregame? Where are we going to pregame at? Oh, well, we've got this nice little closet. You know,
Exactly.
like, oh, we got this little hole in like the floor. It's like, nah, it's like, yo, we got a pool.
The view,
we got
crazy.
Dope kitchen. You know,
Yeah,
we got table, we got
exactly.
space. You know, put your feet
Exactly.
up.
So-
And people will pay for that. You know?
Exactly. And I think the experience that you were mentioning is just so cool. Like imagine you walk into a place and when you walk in, it's like, it's not just like, oh, this is beautiful, but it's like, damn, wow, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at how sick this is. The wall's made of grass. It looks like the one hotel. There's
Right.
like the name of the house on the wall. There's a area where it's got a ring light, you know, right in front of it where we could take
Ready to
photos.
go.
It's like it got a little photo booth. We've got a movie theater. We've got a pool table. We've got the little miniature golf place. You know what I mean? Like if you create these experiences for people, a lot of them, they may not even leave the house. I mean, in Miami, you're going to leave the house. You're going to go out. You know, Miami is meant to be
Exactly.
enjoyed, right? But if they can come back and they are proud to bring someone back,
If you're doing it right,
area,
you're coming back.
exactly. If you're proud to bring your friends or whomever you meet back to this beautiful place.
And let's be real, guys. We're going to be real. If you're out here in Miami, whether you're a dude or a dudette, right, you go out to a nightclub, you might meet somebody who you fall in love with for the night, and you're going to need a place to stay, right? You want a safe, comfortable place to go back to and hopefully not make babies with, but hey, maybe a baby does come out of the occasion, right? Point is, you can have a really awesome experience where like, hey, welcome back to my bunker. Or you could be like, yo, this spot is dope. And they could have that same experience that you had when they first walk in. Like, yo, this is sick. This is where y'all are staying.
Yeah.
Continue the party. You make more friends. Their group combines with your group. And those are the types of stories that we want to have and that will allow us to build this brand
Exactly.
around a place instead of just somewhere to rest at.
Exactly.
So I think the other thing we got to talk about is why are we doing this now? Or maybe not why we're doing this now, but, you know, when are we starting?
Sure.
What are we kind of doing to prepare and
So,
where are our heads at on that?
You know, and I'll let you answer this on your own, but
Sure.
not only why are we starting now, because I think that that is in itself a difficult, not question to answer, but
Sure.
more so to wrap your head around, because there's a lot of people right now that are afraid to buy. Everyone is buying, right?
Yeah.
And it's typical, and you know this as an investor, when everybody's doing something, you probably don't want to do it,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot of people that are hesitant. I have a lot of clients that are pre-approved and they can't find anything. They're, you know, people are paying $50, $100, $200,000 over the asking price.
Market is very hot.
The market is insane, right? And typically that is an indication of a potential pullback in the future, right? So a lot of people are hesitant to buy in this market right now. However, I think for the purposes of cash flow and an investment, you know, now is a good time. I think any time is a good time,
Yeah.
really, because we're not so focused on the appreciation of the asset, although that's fine. But if you keep this for 10, 20 years down the road and you're cash flowing, not only are you making your money every month, but eventually the property will appreciate. And even if the market does have a pullback, that's not our goal right now, is to flip the house in a couple years, right?
Exactly.
If we keep this thing for 20 years, we're cash flowing all the way through that, updating the house, maintaining it. You know, eventually the equity will rebound itself, even if we experience a slight dip.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool is it probably will appreciate. I was looking at a property up in Pompano Beach, and it was listed at what was it, $1,450,000, so $1.4 million, and it had appreciated like $400,000 during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So we could talk forever, and I'd like to about like the market dynamics and why things are happening and how they will be. But the short version of all of that is, I think things will continue to appreciate,
Yeah.
and even though that's not the goal, it's a nice thing to have in your back
Obviously,
pocket
yeah.
because we're putting in, again, 10, 20%, and we're starting out with some amazing leverage, and that only gets better over time.
Absolutely.
So if we put 10% down on a $2 million property, and then it's worth $2.5 million. Now our leverage is even better than it was.
And the cool part about that is, people always hear about like the Burr method and all these different things. If your property let's say you are an investor and your property has appreciated by 2.5, you now have a couple $100,000 to play with. If you wanted to do a cash out refinance, take that cash out and use that as leverage to put onto another investment property, right? So it's just something that builds over time. We're essentially building a portfolio by starting with one. I think the other thing about not only why we're doing it now, but why we're doing it in is obviously the money's great. We've looked at the P&Ls.
Yeah, that's important.
The money is crazy. The money's crazy. We have a lot of friends that are doing it in the business right now. They're really winning with Airbnb. And you hear the numbers and you're like, that's crazy. It's literally impossible. But when you take a dive at the profit and loss statements and you look at, all of the financials, you're like, damn, they're really making this much money, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about the money, though. I think it's about what you mentioned on your story or on the reel yesterday, which is like setting yourself free.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm very successful with mortgages. I know you're incredibly successful with your job as well. But there's sometimes where you're like, I don't want to take this client. Like it sucks to say this, but I don't want to take this client on because there's such a headache.
Yeah.
And this is such a difficult deal, but I'd really like to make $20,000 off of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly,
and it'd be nice to have the opportunity to say, I'm making $10,000 a month off of my Airbnb. All of my expenses are paid for. My rent's paid for. My car is paid for. Everything is taken care of already, right? I don't need this stress. I don't have to take on this client that's going to bug me every single day for the next 30 days to make 20 grand.
Yeah, I think that freedom from, and I can tell you guys, there's a lot we can probably both talk about. We feel this is, I made earlier this year, I think it was like a $66,000 commission, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, there's another quarter, and it doesn't stop. And that's fine because I like sales and all that, but you realize that you need to put this capital to work somewhere so that eventually, you're still not just working for that next dollar. And I know it sounds crazy to feel like you basically feel like you're working paycheck to paycheck, even though you're making these large sums of money.
It's true.
But that's essentially what you're doing. So I could put it in the bank, and I could quit my job, and I could just live for a few years off of the money that I have in the bank. But that's silly, right? What I should do is invest that, and then I could be making 30, 40 grand a month passively. A little bit of work here. Passive is a little.
Somewhat
too much, but mostly passive. And now I'm still getting commissions, but I can do whatever I want. I don't have that next quarter kind of feeling, or I'm not just taking money out of the bank, right? I don't have this stockpile of cash that's just going down and down.
That's true.
Now I have cash flow. I have assets that are appreciating, and that's the whole point of investing in anything, right? It's like to get to that point where it's like, I enjoy working. I'm really good at what I'm doing, but hey, if I got this client that's a pain in the ass, it doesn't matter if I'm gonna make 30, 40 grand. I can just be like, yo, no.
Yeah.
Because I run into that. I work with some amazing people. I'll say that first. But I can tell you, working in tech sales, you meet, it's like every narcissist on earth is just around there. There's a lot of them in real estate too. But when you get in this place, that's just kind of the name of the game. But these people that are just terrible to work with. But you do it because you can solve their problem and add value, and the value that they can add to you is monetary.
Yeah.
So,
It's true. And I mean, so look, I'm blessed, because it's kind of, I'm in a position now where it's fun doing what I do. I love working with clients. I love helping first-time home buyers get into the home of their dreams. They've been renting their whole life. They're in their 30s, 40s. They're having a kid, and they want to live that American dream. They want to get into a place, right?
Yeah.
But what I see with all of my clients is they're literally living paycheck to paycheck to pay for the house that they're living in.
Yeah.
And then I look at my very wealthy clients. So I have become the luxury and jumbo mortgage expert here in Miami. This is what I do. I do jumbo loans all the time. This is my thing, right? Yeah. Jumbo condos, jumbo single family homes, non-warrantables, condo hotels, everything. So what I've noticed from the wealthy that are buying these investment properties is they're not busting their ass to pay for their own mortgage. They have these investment properties paying for their lifestyle. Some of them, a lot of them, they don't even own their own primary home. They literally rent for $30,000, $40,000 a month in Coconut Grove or in Miami Shores or on the water somewhere in the Venetian, right? They're paying this exorbitant amount of rent every single month, and they're not working to pay for it.
Yeah.
They have investment properties where the income is actually covering it for them.
And that's the dream, guys. There's a lot we can talk about this, but I want to give you some tidbit, and I think the whole point is to give you all value is, and I've said it probably a million ways. It's kind of cliche, but if you do what other people do, you're going to get what other people get, right?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to think about, like, how can I break out of this box or out of this path? It's like, okay, are the wealthy, free people who are, living, traveling all around the world, all they do is travel. It's like, how are they doing that? It's like, are they investing in their 401k? Are they, buying, the most expensive car they can afford? Are they having as many kids as soon as possible? And these are all things that you can do. It's your life to live. But like, my message to you all is to always think about, like, what is it that these people are doing differently, and am I surrounding myself with those type of people? Absolutely. It's really, really hard, and I'm not going to act like I'm any different. If I was surrounded by myself with mediocre people every day, I'd become more mediocre of a person, right?
Absolutely.
So the easiest way to get out of that, there's nothing wrong with those people, that's just what they aspire to, is you got to surround yourself with different people. That's step one. And then start to emulate, what these different, hopefully successful people are doing, and that's how you will get to them. Life is really simple. Like, you do the right things, you'll get the right outcomes. You do the wrong things, you get the wrong outcomes every time. Like, you might fail, but I guarantee you do the right things, you get the right outcomes. So I will leave that message to you all on that point. What else is on this list? With condos versus single family homes, definitely want to touch on that. Andrew, what are your thoughts on buying a condo versus single family, especially given the experience and all that we're trying to get for these luxury rentals?
What I've seen personally from my clients, and just looking again at the numbers, and I probably do, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 of these a month, right? At least these investment properties, these Airbnbs, is the numbers on single family homes are staggering.
Yeah.
They are absolutely phenomenal, and I don't even know how to describe how much higher they are, because I haven't done the actual analytics to give you a percentage, but they are incredibly high in comparison to condos. Now, condos, obviously, people love condos. They love the views, they love the amenities, they love all these different things. But I think with the experience piece, you're a little bit limited as far as what you can provide to your tenants in a condo. Now, additionally, here in Miami, a lot of condo associations have cracked down hard on Airbnb. Yeah. So it is very difficult to find a condo that will allow for an Airbnb, and typically 8 out of 10 times you're going to have to go to a condo that's considered a condo hotel. Now, why is that important? Because a condo hotel, like let's say the most recent one I closed one at the Fountain Blue at the W last month, Fountain Blue, W South Beach, and the W Brickell, which is also Icon. Okay. Icon Tower 3. Now, I closed in all 3 of these buildings last month. They're all 3 considered condo hotels. And, the buyers are interested in doing short-term rentals. The problem with these condo hotels, and if you're an agent that sells in condo hotels, I'm sorry, I don't mean to knock your hustle.
Knock them down, Andrew.
No, but because there is because there's a lot of benefit to being in a condo hotel, especially if you want to come and block out a certain couple of months a year, you're a foreign investor, whatever. There's a lot of benefits, right? But with, let's say, a single family home for $1.2 million, you're putting 10% down on a single family home. You have to put 30% down. I can get away with 25, but you've got to put 25 to 30% down on a condo hotel, right? So you're automatically forking out more cash, and you're getting significantly less. Think about what you can get at the W for 1.2 million. You're talking about like a 1.1 or a 2.2, right? Yeah. Whereas a single family home, you could buy like a 4 or 5 bedroom.
Yeah, that's bedroom, bathroom. So 1.1 is 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Versus like a 3 bedroom, 3 bath.
Exactly. So with a condo hotel, you're also limited by the association. They may only allow you to block out certain dates that you can come. They typically have a management team in-house that handles all this stuff for you. You have to pay them a fee. Yep. Now, if you were to buy a single family home, you're kind of in more control of the situation. You're going to use a system such as Airbnb. You're going to decide what days you want to block out, not what days the association tells you can block out, right? Yeah. And some of them, they're like, you can't use it during this holiday because that's peak season. And I'm like, what if I want to use it during that holiday because I got my family in town or whatever?
Yeah, because it's peak season. Yeah.
Exactly. So I understand from the investment side, like peak season is when you're going to make the most cash flow, right? Sure. You can upcharge, whatever. However, if you've got family and you want to make that decision for yourself, some of these buildings will limit your ability to do so. So from a single family home standpoint, if you're in a neighborhood that allows it, you're in a much better position. Again, going back to condos, there's a lot of condos that would make incredible Airbnbs. They would probably generate a ton of money, but the association's like,
kills it.
We're not allowing it. So if you were to do a 5% down conventional loan on like a $620,000 place, whatever the case is, right? As long as you keep that loan amount again under $548,250, you're still putting yourself in a position where you are at risk of being, in trouble with your own association because you are breaking their rules.
And that's not it's honestly not worth. I mean, there's plenty of idiots who've tried it out there. They try to stay under the radar, but it only takes one neighbor who cares. And honestly, it's understandable. Like if I'm in a nice building and like my next door neighbor is always a random group of people who don't necessarily care about the property as much because they don't live there and they're in and out.
And they're raising hell and they're partying and they're...
Yeah, there's merits to the complaints. So it kind of adds up, but I would say don't try it, or if you do try it, good luck. Let me know if it works because I don't know anybody who's done it for long.
Let me know what building you're doing it in too.
Yeah. Hit us up. Shoot me in the DM. I want to invest.
Yeah. So look, so basically what I've seen is just, again, in apples to apples comparison, looking at the financials, my clients that are winning the most off of Airbnbs are doing so through buying single family home residences. And, that's kind of where their bread and butter has been. So again, just like, you got to look at your top 5 friends that are the most successful, right? And hang around with those crew. I do the same thing with my clients. I look at the top 5 to 10 most successful investors that I work with, and I analyze not only their full financial situation, because again, I'm looking at their full financials when I do their mortgage, right, to qualify them most of the time. So I'm looking at these things and I'm seeing where things are coming into alignment. Now, most of them own investment property. I think all of them own investment properties, but they're not putting their money away in 401ks. Some of them don't even have 401ks. Now, if you have that, great. I'm not knocking it. A lot of them will get it out early and use it as an investment, use it for a down payment on an investment property.
It's a good idea.
So, you got to study the greats. You got to study people that are within your circle. You got to hang around with people that are doing it. You got to have conversations like this. Today is what? Today's a holiday.
It's Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, by the way, to everyone.
And if we're posting this late, you're catching us on Labor Day whenever we post this.
Yeah.
But there's so many people. It's absolutely stunning outside right now. It's beautiful. It's hot.
We could be doing anything.
We could literally be on a boat. We could be turned up. We could be having a great time, right? But instead, we're recording a podcast talking about investment properties.
Man, that gets into such a strong point around having purpose and what you're doing. And we do have good times, y'all. I'm not saying we only do this, but yeah, Andrew's right. Like we could be doing anything, but part of it being a holiday means that there's free time for us to create this thing that we know we really want to work on, right?
Absolutely.
Versus, going in and partying, which we could do on like a Friday or a Saturday or a Wednesday or Thursday because we're in Miami, So, man, I think we hit all the points. I think really the last thing that we could talk about is expectations. What can you guys expect from us? I can start on this. Like I said, we really just want to share our journey. I think one of the hard things that I've seen when I first started investing in real estate is finding people who are just doing the stuff and kind of like letting you lean in over the shoulder versus trying to always sell you on something.
That's
not
huge.
To, kill anybody's, I don't know what to call it, but I think you guys know what I mean. But there's definitely something to say about showing off and building your brand. I get that. And you'll see us flex a little bit. I'm not going to lie. We're going to be very proud of the work that we buy or the work that we do, the properties that we buy and the experiences that we're able to make. But a lot of that is also going to be kind of the raw, uncut, like, hey, we bought this property and then, we had to blow this wall up because there was water damage. Yeah. Here's what it is. Here's how much it cost.
And that's how much it ate into our profits.
Yeah, it was painful. All that stuff. And that stuff does happen. When I first bought my sixplex, there's a ton of problems there. But most of the time you just hear people talking about like, yo, we're making
profits.
We're going to make $80,000 a month on this. It's like, okay, you're going to, but how much did you really? And how much pain did you experience on the way to get there?
Well, that's huge.
And I think that's most useful to, new people.
Yeah. And I think just to touch on that, because of our experience, again, to set a realistic expectation with you guys is what we've experienced so far tackling this space, or at least jumping into it. And we're not even into it yet because we don't even own the property,
Right.
We haven't even put up the funds. We haven't done anything. This is like super premature, but we just want to set a realistic expectation. So something that we've done is we have gone to some of my clients. We've gone to some of Forrest's friends, some of my friends who are actually active in the Airbnb space that are making money off of Airbnbs. And we have asked them what their actual numbers are. They're all giving us projections. Yeah. Everyone's giving us projections. Other than my clients who I have to see their P&Ls to qualify them, that's the only way that I've actually seen figures.
And I can tell you why people are doing this. It's ego.
Yeah.
It's pride. People don't want to show that it's harder than it is. And there's a lot of reasons. There's so many reasons for that, but it's really simple, guys. And I would say this: if you're trying to raise money from people for any type of investment, show them. Especially if you've done deals, just show them your actual cash flows.
The good, bad, and the ugly.
It's really easy because, every dollar is not made equally, right? There's risk. And so if I have one company and they say, hey, we're going to give you $10,000 a month, and it's basically guaranteed, all the properties are brand new, the roofs are done, the plumbing is done, the flooring is good, the subfloors are good, all the windows have been recently updated, the paint is new, the driveway is new, pool is new, it's been resurfaced, nothing's gonna break. The AC is new. Cool. I go to another team, hey, we're gonna give you $10,000 a month. What do the properties look like? Well, the roof's 15 years old, the driveway hasn't been repaid recently. We hired a guy, we paid him cheap to just kind of do a slap of paint on there. We don't know how old the plumbing is, and I'm thinking in my head, well, if the property is, pre-70s, the plumbing might need some work. There's all types of stuff that can break, and I know there's gonna be a capital call, which means we got to put in more money to fix some stuff, and suddenly those projections don't work out. And I know that partially because I've bought real estate before, I've been in deals, but it's also really easy. If I go into a team and they say, hey, we typically have 6 to 10 repairs per year across our portfolio, and your returns are going to range between 8 to 12%. I'll invest with them immediately because it's just, I know what my risk profile is and my cash flows. Nothing is free. Like anytime something is too good to be true, it immediately turns me off. At this point in my life, it turns me off. It's like, I don't want to hear, yo, we're for sure going to make $90,000 a month. I'm just like, all right, dude. Like, why are you talking to me then? Like, why are we having this conversation if it's that guaranteed?
Exactly.
Like, I'm here to put in work to produce good returns.
And I think that's also because we've been burned before. So everybody that's gotten burned before, you walk into a deal or you walk into a relationship or you walk into anything with a little bit more hesitancy, caution, and timidness because you want to analyze the situation. You want to make sure that that's not going to happen again, especially if you've gotten burned bad. If you've gotten burned bad, you don't want that to happen again. So one of our things, I guess to set a realistic expectation is we want to show the good, the bad, and the ugly in this deal. We want to go into our first deal. We want to show you guys what it took to get in, how much money did we have to put up, how much money did we have to put into the property. We're going to show you the inspection reports. I want to show you the appraised value. I want to show you everything that happened in the deal so that you get a realistic expectation of, how it went and where we are. And if one month we make 40 grand, fantastic. If another month we lose 10 grand, fantastic, but we're not going to gas it up and say we make $41,000 a month. We're going to say on average we make roughly 18, after management or whatever the case is, because we want to show the nitty gritty, real world, authentic look into what this looks like because we have not seen that from anybody yet. Yeah.
And our hope is that you'll appreciate that. Our investors will appreciate that. I know for a fact, people that I've invested with, I love investing with people who take that approach. It just makes it a really easy transaction when you set expectations.
Realistic
expectations. Everybody makes money still. You're never waking up upset because you didn't get the money you thought you would. You're getting exactly the money that you expected to get. And that's more important in the long term. And we're going to build a really profitable, multi-million-dollar Airbnb business. Like, we'll do it. It's going to be fun. We're still going to print a lot of money. We're just going to show you kind of how hard it is. So when you jump in or if you invest with us, you kind of know what we're doing to actually produce those results. Anything else you want to say, though? I think that is it for this one.
I think what would be cool is, dude, we're obviously on a journey right now, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect. We've got some ideas. We've seen some people's, experiences, whether authentic or not. What motivates you to do this? What excites you about this? And kind of what's your vision? Where do you see this going? Not only for the business, but for your personal life.
There's a lot of things there. So always been interested in real estate for one. So said on another one of our episodes, like I just love buying real estate. It's like playing Monopoly in real life. The money certainly incentivizes me. I like competing in a, let's just say, capitalistic manner, right? I like pushing myself to make more money and kind of enjoying the process and the refinement of myself in order to do that, right? So all the effort that it takes, sitting up hours, looking at properties, and putting in that work. I guess I kind of like working, but I like figuring out all these things of like, okay, when I look at somebody who owns 30 Airbnbs, it's like I'm starting to understand like what they actually have to do to get to that point, right? Unless you're just, some billionaire trust fund kid, which we're not, but not worried about those folks. So for me, it's about becoming that, person who really understands. It's mastery. Everything I do is about mastery. It's like, can I master this business? Can I become one of the best in this business? Can we create these experiences that we just talked about that people love, get the positive reviews, share that with my friends and family, being able to bring them to the properties. That's like, when I think about the future, like my vision is like, I want to be able to bring my family, my friends,
absolutely,
like, hey, these are properties that, I own or I'm part owner of. These are experiences, and like let them partake in that.
Absolutely.
I'm not
That's huge.
selfish by any means. I want to make a lot of money, but it's definitely to impact those close around me and just build a really big, awesome business too, and buy some cool stuff along the way for sure.
Absolutely.
But a lot of it is just that, like, just building a really big, powerful business that people can look at and be like, yo, like they're doing it. They're
absolutely.
doing it right.
Oh, that's huge, man.
So what about you, man?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all that. Especially with the family and friends aspect. I want to create something that people can experience and enjoy when they come, and they associate that with our business. They know that if they go to one of our homes, that they know that they're going to have an experience. They're going to enjoy being there. They're going to want to bring friends and family around. We're going to want to send our own friends and family there, right? For the experience. And we're going to have the ability, the flexibility, and the capacity to be able to do that for our loved ones. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, whether you make $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month, obviously there's a different tiered level to your living. However, like, it's not always about pushing, grinding. It's about like those intimate experiences that you can have with your loved ones. My vision for the business is not only to grow and to become a multi-million-dollar business, but to put myself in a position where I can provide for my family and my friends and eventually my wife and eventually my children. I came from, just like you, humble means. My parents were middle class. They worked very, very hard. My mother was in school full time to get her doctorate degree, while I was going to school and working full time to provide a life for us. My dad worked full time, and there was a lot of times when I'm like, I wanted to spend time with my parents and they weren't around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and not knocking at all, I love my parents to death. I love what they did for me. I love what they still do for me. They're always there. But, imagine if they had been in a position where they were like, we've got the money coming in every month and we can take a month off and go spend this incredible time with our kids. We can go to a safari or we can go out wherever, and to spend that time with the family. Like, how much more impact can you have on your loved ones if you have positioned yourself in a place where you can be there? Because there's so much power in being present. Your presence has impact. Your presence has purpose. And if you can be present with your loved ones, you're setting them up for a life where they may not have, traumas or anxiety that other kids have who didn't have the kids around, or have their parents around, rather.
Yeah, and you can really, wealth can buy you time. It can buy you that freedom to spend those moments. I agree with that completely. Like, being able to do something as simple as be in a place, buy a plane ticket, on a Wednesday, and just be there, just be around. We all know what it's like to have people that you can depend on, that are present, they're not just on the phone, but they're actually there. And that's one of the many things, regardless of how you build your wealth or acquire that freedom, that wealth can get you, being able to just help people in tough spots. I mean, it is a great feeling to be able to help people that you care about.
To give back. I mean, generosity is huge. I've experienced, I was touching briefly on it, and I'll kind of end on this note for myself, but, I just experienced one of the largest commission checks of my entire career last month. It was fantastic. And then when it hit my account, I just was kind of in awe, because I was like, I don't know what to do, because usually I'm like, I got to pay for stuff. And like, it's,
Yeah.
you're like counting your dollars of what's going to go to what. And I was in a place where I'm like, I don't have to worry about anything. I feel really good right now. And I was like, I'm going to be generous to someone. And so I ended up, I had it on my heart for a while that I was going to write a check to somebody. And like, it was so cool because, and I won't go into the dollar amount or anything because I don't need I don't need that. But I basically wrote a check for someone and I gave it to them and I said, hey, I felt like God was speaking to me and he asked me to give this to you. Yeah. And, I know it's not a lot, but I hope you could use it. And like, bro, they started crying. Yeah. They started crying and they were like, you don't understand how much we needed this right now. Yeah. And like how much you've impacted us. And so to be able to do that for somebody, man, and to have the ability to do that instead of hoarding and being all tight-wadded about your cash, like if you have the opportunity to give back to somebody, bro, this month is already projected to be bigger than last month. And I think personally, I can attribute it to that one act of just giving to someone else. Because when you're generous and you give, God blesses you with more because he knows that it's going from your hand to another, instead of just stopping with you, it's spreading. So to have the ability to do that is why I'm doing this, to be with my family, to be with my friends, to spend that quality time, to build for the future and to give back to others.
No, I feel that. I mean, regardless of what you believe in, I've definitely experienced, what we call karma, what we understand as karma. You put good energy out, it'll come back. So be a good person, selfishly or unselfishly, hopefully. But I guarantee you, if you be a good person, that energy will come back to you. And
absolutely,
giving
man.
is certainly a way to do that. So I think that is it. I did the intro. So Andrew, close us out.
All right. Thank you for joining us. The #1 podcast in the world. We are excited. If you have not done so yet, please like, subscribe, share with friends, with family, with anybody that you think might be interested in hearing what we have to say. We thank you if you stuck around this long. We appreciate you. We love you. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Cool.
Damn, that was a good one.